Hello, dear friends. Today we have wonderful opportunity to continue our lessons in global marketing. Right now I'm offering you the third part of global marketing. This is lesson number 3, and I try to give you some examples of global environment, especially trade environment, and we will speak about trade environment. So, first of all, why trade environment is so important. According great period of life when our civilization tries to construct sustainable ways to development. Great leaders of civilization in different period, they guess one great wisdom, that only trade and multinational trade can stop nations to invade each other, because in trade all big nations or small nations, they have mutual benefits, and this reciprocity of benefits makes them to stop their military activities and military thinking. So according books and according some kind of cases I read about different stages of civilization development, I had the idea that conscious of people, or really real practical mind of leaders of the civilization, they suggested people and they decided themselves that trade can stop war and establish peace. That's why we can find a lot of interesting quotes about trade in holy books of our civilization. So someone tries, even from holy books of our civilization, to develop the trade. Even 2000, 3000 years ago, in holy books and holy scripts, someone tries to offer us to turn to another way of competition, what is multinational trade. And we understand that right now we have this kind of golden time. We can trade. We should not war. We should not fight each other. We should trade with each other, and this kind of positive or negative saldo of our trade relations with other countries can show who we are. Are we best, or are we some kind of worst in doing, in making, in offering, in marketing at all? So that's why we are speaking today about trade, and this is chapter number 3, lesson number 3. It's global trade environment. And what I want to say when we speak about global trade environment, first of all, countries and their leaders, they decided to establish something what is called today as a ecosystem of the trade. So today we call this ecosystem of the trade. So Jack Ma, even today, he says that he established ecosystem of the trade. So countries and their leaders in 1947, they gathered and they were thinking about ecosystem of the trade, but they had something different title for this ecosystem of the trade. They decided to establish something what was entitled as General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. So this was established in 1947, and so they wanted to do great trade disputes and so on and so on. But because this organization had no some kind of bigger benefits on trade, people nicknamed this organization as a general agreement to talk and talk. So, and disputes lasted few years and many years, and so finally everything was changed, and successor of global agreement on tariffs and trade was changed by World Trade Organization. And why World Trade Organization? What was benefit of World Trade Organization? While the World Trade Organization in current existence provides its membership with forums for three interrelated functions, this is more beneficial than global agreement on tariffs and trade. World Trade Organization has three very interesting functions, and listen to these functions, please. First of all, this is negotiation with countries and among countries. So World Trade Organization has the power of negotiation. It's also illumination. This word is very relevant. And negotiation and illumination makes a lot of good things to make countries not to fight each other, to make countries to sell their products to each other. And the third function is litigation. So, and this litigation function was great advantage for World Trade Organization. So, but let's follow our way and let's speak about what happened and how it happened and what was really a period of this kind of changes. In 1995, global agreement on tariffs and trade was finally turned into World Trade Organization. We can say that World Trade Organization is a great forum of countries. It has 160 or maybe a little more members. It's based in Geneva. It serves great dispute among countries, and this is the mediator. And this organization has enforcement power and can impose some kind of sanctions over countries. And so it's very interesting how these kind of trade tariffs and trade barriers are finally reduced, and what we have, what kind of path we should follow, and our countries and our civilization should follow to make something really interesting. We should try to remember preferential trade agreements. Many countries seek to lower barriers to trade within their regions, and preferential trade agreements everybody loves, and every country, every leader, every real thinking leader tries to have preferential trade agreements, especially to their neighbors or especially to one of the biggest markets, like what is United States, what is China, what is Russia, what is European Union. Every normal country should have this kind of great opinion to have preferential trade agreement. So right now, over 300 preferential trade agreements are well known and some kind of registered by World Trade Organization. So right now, let's speak about hierarchy of preferential trade agreements. First of all, when countries already decided to follow the way of trade barrier reductions and trade barrier eliminations, they could not in 1 minute or in 1 year establish big common market or establish big economic union. It was not some kind of normal, and it was not expected, and it's not expected even today. Today we have more information about trade barriers and their negative role in countries' economic development, but history shows that countries, they were going step by step, to reduce tariffs or to eliminate trade tariffs and make something what is interesting, big common market. So the first stage, when countries and their leaders already understand and already recognized the process of reducing the barriers and making something well formed or well shaped, interesting frames for trade development. This stage was entitled as the stage of free trade agreement. In this stage of free trade agreements, countries speak with each other to reduce barriers or to eliminate trade barriers at all, and they try to abolish tariff barriers to each other and establish one big free trade area between two countries, between three countries, between more countries. So, but after some period, countries and their leaders and their business forces, they are great leaders of the countries. So they are even some kind of great powers to change the country, so to change the economic policy of the country. So these kind of leaders, they understand that free trade agreements, they are not enough, and this first stage is not enough for further development of the country. And so in that kind of case, they speak about how to abolish not only tariffs, but to go to common external tariffs. So common external tariffs means that if we, two countries members, we have some kind of interesting free trade area, we don't want others to come to this kind of free trade area, and we make some kind of little higher external barriers to third countries, not to allow them to have access to our market, to have access to our little paradise. And you know that world all times tries to establish small paradise. The paradise is in the brain of the people. People want to have paradise. So, for example, West Germany before 1993, 1995 was little paradise, because this was wonderful country, and this country already had great free trade area with France and with some kind of other countries of West Europe, and this was really wonderful place. And such kind of wonderful places, they try to defend themselves having some kind of common external tariffs for others who are coming, who are trying to have access to the same paradise. So after some period, they establish this kind of customs union. So this kind of second stage is entitled as customs union. So we are right now in some kind of customs union, and we understand that everything goes well and our money is plenty, we are flourishing, our economy is flourishing, but this is not enough, because business all times tries to find new opportunities and new solutions, and in that kind of case we think about common market. And what is common market? Common market is not only abolition of tariffs, it's not only common external tariffs, it's not only some kind of great attitude to free trade agreements, free trade areas to each other, to some kind of member countries, but this is factor movements. And what is the factor movements? This is movement of labor forces, movement of people, movement of finances, capital. Capital moves without any kind of stop, any kind of border, and so people, they move from one country to another country to find a job and to bring their skills and to bring all kind of their talents to different countries. In some kind of period, the European Union was big common market. It was not European Union at all. This was like, these were countries and their leaders making themselves to be in one big common market. But this is not enough for further economic development. And if countries live well to each other, if countries love each other, they forget about wars and they forget about some kind of military activities against each other, and all these things, they remain in history. Now they open new book, and this new book is new stage in free trade policy. And this is pike of the pyramid. And this pike of the pyramid is entitled as economic union. The same, I can say that European Economic Union, this is wonderful thing. This is great economic union. And what is this economic union? This is not only abolishing of tariffs. This is not only common external tariffs. This is not only factor movements. That means that labor forces and capital moves well. It's not only this. This is also economic and political harmonization, and in the period of political and economic harmonization, economic union turns into big country. And this economic union, after some period, needs one big bank, central bank, and needs one big government or small government. So they also need bureaucrats, and because they need bureaucrats and because they need also the leader of the banking system and monetaristic policy and fiscal policy leading system, they need central bank, and they, after that, they can turn into some kind of big new forces to establish this kind of new country. This is already country. In some kind of period, this turns into country. So let's start from lower stage, free trade area. So free trade area, we know a lot of interesting things. So NAFTA was established as a free trade area in 1994. This NAFTA, this is North Atlantic Free Trade Agreement. This North Atlantic Free Trade Agreement gathered Canada, United States, and Mexico. All these three nations pledged to promote economic growth through tariff reduction and expanding some kind of trade and do investments. But as I told you in lesson number 2, who won and who lost in this kind of North American Free Trade Agreement? Because NAFTA was signed in 1993 and it was turned by Bill Clinton, President of the United States, in 1993. Mr. President Clinton, turned NAFTA into law. So after that period, a lot of things changed and America lost something. Mexicans won mostly, and Canadians also won a lot of things. What happened? Automaking industry, automotive industry, automakers, they blame or they claim NAFTA, that through NAFTA, the number of plants, auto-making, car-making plants was closed in United States. So in United States, approximately 10 to 11 big auto-making plants were closed from 1993 to our current time. And so the same was done in Canada, but not 10 4 big automaking plants were closed in Canada. And so, but automaking plants were increased in Mexico, and Mexicans, they improved and increased the number of jobs. They have right now jobs from this kind of NAFTA. NAFTA makes a lot of good things for Mexicans. But this is not surprise, because Mexico was poor, America was richest, Canada was rich, and this is the principle of physics. Mexicans, they had more and more benefits to negotiate with rich neighbors. This is a law of physics, one of the laws of physics. This is not surprise. And right now, Mr. President Donald Trump tries to renegotiate the NAFTA and make Americans to win a lot. But also experts of trade policy, they say that Mexicans themselves, they are not rich even today. And so cars they are doing in their country, because labor forces in Mexico are still cheap, these cars they sell to their neighbors, and neighbors benefit from these cars because the price of these cars is very good, accessible. These prices are really accessible. So Americans and Canadians who are not automakers themselves, who are only customers of the cars, they love this idea to buy cars established in Mexico. So this is really not big problem. I think Mr. Trump should be very carefully to renegotiate this NAFTA, because in future NAFTA will bring a lot of benefits for United States, and Mexican people will be richer than they are today, and they will buy more and more products and services from United States and from Canada. This is the future, and right now nobody should stop NAFTA, and nobody should destroy this genial idea of NAFTA for North America. So after free trade area, you understand that this is customs union. So many experts, they were thinking that Canada, United States, and Mexico through NAFTA can go to the idea of customs union like Europeans did. So in evolution of free trade area and some kind of interesting thinking of leaders can establish external barriers for other countries and make other countries not to come to this kind of market. And so Canada, Mexico, and the United States in future, they can do also customs union. So there are a lot of customs unions, and these customs unions, they are really, really very interesting organizations. One of them, this is Mercosur. Mercosur, this is a little difficult word to pronounce. Mercosur. There are different, plenty of variants how you should say Mercosur. So this Mercosur makes a lot of countries to be in this kind of wonderful customs union. This is first of all Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, Paraguay, Venezuela, and some kind of other countries. They are full members, and others they are associated members like Bolivia, Chile, Ecuador, Colombia, Peru, and others and others. And what kind of languages they have? Mercosur. This is interesting idea really, and this is like Latin America. So they use 3 languages. They use Spanish, they use Portuguese, and they use also Guarani language. What is language of Native Americans. So, and this Guarani language or Tupi Guarani language, this is one of the best language. And in 17th century, when one of missionary traveled in this area to gather different languages, this missionary established the idea that Guarani languages are really flexible and wonderful to unite this kind of Native Americans and to make for them some kind of script and alphabet. So this Mercosur speaks in this kind of 3 languages, and this is wonderful customs union, and this customs union makes these countries to be peaceful to each other. The full name of Mercosur really is very difficult to pronounce. You should know well Spanish or Portuguese or Tupi Guarani languages. So right now, Central American integration system is also one of customs unions, and European Union was also in this kind of stage some period ago because of development of free trade initiatives. About common market includes the elimination of internal barriers and establishing common external barriers. And once again, I want to tell you that in common market, factors of production such as labor, capital, and information, they move from one country to another country without any problem. And after common market, we have economic union, and economic union includes elimination of internal barriers, establishment of external barriers, free movement of factors of producing, what is labor, capital, information, and so on. And what we have here additionally, this is the great need of coordination, the great need of harmonization of economic and social policy within the union. And finally, we go to one of interesting structures, what is central bank and central government. So it's very interesting also to take into consideration very interesting history of GATT negotiation, and how European Union came to this kind of great stage. So if we look statistics, we understand that this was terrible time. We know that the great crisis started in 1929. It was prepared in 1928, but in 1929 until 1940, the great crisis was destroying a lot of families, countries, states, and their financial basics. But so if we watch the number of tariffs countries they have to each other, so this is terrible picture. So average number of tariffs for United States products and United States goods to European market was also very damaging for everybody, for United States and for European countries. For example, Belgium, they have in 1913 they have 6 tariffs. In 1925 the number of tariffs were 7. In 1931, this is the second year of the Great Depression and Great Crisis. The number of tariffs are 17. In 1952, the number of tariffs are decreasing. Why? Because global agreement on tariffs and trade already started to work and to think about how to decrease the number of tariffs, and this already influenced this country. France, they had in 1913 14 tariffs to trade, especially to United States goods and services. After some period, the number of tariffs decreased in 1925, but in 1931, the number of tariffs was 40. And in 1952, the number of tariffs began to go down. It was once again 16, and in 2003, the number of tariffs reduced, and so right now this is only 3 to 5 tariffs in France against the products and goods of United States. So this is also very interesting history. If we say about Italy, Italian tariffs were 17 in the beginning of century, in the beginning of 20th century. In the development stage in 1931, in second year of Great Depression, Italian number of tariffs was 48, and after that it was like reduced. In the period of global agreement of tariffs and trade and World Trade Organization, what really changed the situation around the world and made a lot of negotiations and negotiating rounds between countries, and negotiation approaches were used, a lot of interesting and different types, and so on. Also, when we speak about GATT and World Trade Organization, we understand that in 1947 in Geneva, when the talks they were about tariffs, only 23 countries gathered. In 1949, the number of countries were even less, 13. So in 1951 in Torgau, about tariffs, we are speaking 38 countries, and in the following years 26 and 26, and only in 1964 and in 1967 the number of countries increased, and it was 62 countries, and their ministers, they gathered to speak about how to reduce tariffs and not to repeat the mistakes of past generation, and not to be engaged into war, not to be engaged into military activities with each other. Countries and their leaders once again decided to gather, and in 1973 to 1979, 102 and 128 countries and their leaders gathered to Uruguay round and to Geneva to decrease the number of tariffs and establish peace. Right now, this is also very new direction of marketing, what is discussed by different marketers and different economists and business people. This is peace marketing. What is the peace marketing without World Trade Organization? What is peace marketing without policy, how to reduce all kind of barriers, or all kind of tariff barriers, but not only tariff barriers. We have some kind of other barriers what should be also reduced. There are some kind of psychological barriers, irrational thinking barriers between countries and their citizens, what should be reduced step by step, economic barriers, and so harmonization should take place. But so the dilemma is all times dilemma we can find in trade agreements and tariffs, and these tariffs, they are so great basic stages of all positive changes what can follow them. So right now I want to say that the world and countries, especially European countries, they well understood the wisdom of centuries and centuries gathered by different kind of countries and different kind of civilizations and put into holy books of these civilizations about magical nature of trade. So trade has great and magical nature, and trade can eliminate intentions of the war, intentions of military activities, and make peace. What is needed? So today I am finishing my class, and so wishing you great success and wishing you to have a nice day and nice weekend. Thank you very much. My name is Professor Kakhaber Djakeli. I am professor of marketing, and I'm thinking all times about very interesting topics to make my listeners to have good ideas and have interesting, very problematic vision into changes happened in marketing and business fields. Thank you very much. Bye.